Hello everyone, welcome to Empowered, and I'm so glad that you could join us today. I would like for us to talk about prayer, and I know that this is a topic that is not strange. It's not a new topic to you. It's something that you do. It's something that you've heard about. It's something that you've been taught on over the years. And I know that many times when we hear or when we are told, why don't you pray about it? We go through issues, we go through life. And as you know by now, life happens, right? And when life happens, you reach out or go to someone or go to people, and maybe the first thing they tell you is, have you prayed about it? Especially if you're talking to people that are spiritual people who are born again, or people who've been in church. Even people, the amazing thing is, even people that don't necessarily go to church, they will always talk about prayer. It's a universal language. Any person. The interesting bit about human beings is we were created, and within us we have, someone said, we have a God-shaped hole inside of us. I think that was Jackie Velasquez, if I'm not wrong, in a song that she sang a long time ago, that there's a God-shaped hole in each of us. And I would agree, because it explains how we have a need to connect to a being that is greater, that is bigger, that is more powerful than us. And that being is God. Every human being has a need to connect with God. What usually happens is that some people will take that need and translate it to be something else, and instead of pursuing God or following after God, they'll now begin to pursue after darkness and after evil. I mean, it happens. I'm sure you also know that. You know of a few people who are into the darkness. They've taken a walk on the dark side. While, the rest of us, we've purposed, we're going to serve God all the days of our lives. But what I was trying to say is, there is a need, an innate need inside each of us to connect with God. And that usually forms the basis of prayer. That it does not matter who you are, what you ascribe to. It's not about where you go to church. It's not about whether you perceive or consider yourself to be spiritual or not. The need for prayer is in each of us. And the amazing thing is, each of us always finds ourselves at a point where we are praying and we are seeking God. Because truth be told, we cannot live life without God. How do you even do it? How do you live your life without God? It's impossible, if you ask me. So it's against that backdrop that I would like for us to just talk and have this conversation about prayer. Now, the thing is this. When people hear about prayer, they have a certain stereotype in their mind, and there are those who think, prayer is more of, I have to probably be kneeling, I have to probably be in a certain place or in a certain position, or I have to look a certain way, I have to be dressed a certain way. People have stereotypes. Things probably they've heard from the past, or probably they've been taught or told, but they have those stereotypes of, when I'm praying, I'm supposed to assume this posture. Now, that's the first stereotype that we need to forget and that we need to do away with. That we need to break, we need to break that stereotype, because you see, the thing about prayer is, there is no certain posture or the acceptable posture for prayer. Prayer is you communicating with God. It is you it is you connecting with God. God, being that God is spirit, He tells us, Jesus, when He was talking to the Samaritan woman, He said that the time is coming and the time is now when those that worship God shall worship Him in truth and in spirit. For God is spirit, and He desires that those that worship Him in spirit. And we know, I think from this same space, we've earlier spoken about how we are human beings, but we have a spirit, we have a soul, and we have a body. So therefore, when we are praying, it is our spirit that is communing with God, who is also spirit. So when you're communing, there is really no posture for prayer. I know what usually happens is, as you are lost in prayer and as you commune with God, because of the reverential awe that we have for Him, in who He is, we begin to bow and to kneel before Him. We don't kneel because we're supposed to kneel when we're praying. We don't bow because it's written that you bow. We bow because we are so aware of the greatness of God. We are so aware of the magnitude of His awesomeness. He is a mighty creator. He is the ruler of the universe. In Him we live, we move, we have our being. He is everything. He's given us the breath of life. He's given us oxygen. He's given us the ability, to move. He's given us the ability to think. You see, a human being is such an intricate factory or machine. You can imagine how your brain, let's not even begin with the brain, how my finger will do this and communicate to my brain. Like they say, we see mostly with our mind, not really with the physical eye. Like what we think we are seeing are pictures or reflection that was in our brain and in our mind. That in the taste, when you're tasting something, there's a message that's sent to your brain. When you're drinking, when you're feeling, when you're touching, even what we perceive or we call the 5 common senses, there's a message that's sent to our brain. Imagine that there's a message that is sent to our brain. Like the entire body works together. Like it's a seamless factory, There's a message that the neurons will send to the brain, and then that will affect how we feel. That is why when you cut yourself, you're going to feel pain, When your small toe hits the table, you're going to feel pain. Those are just messages that are sent. That just goes to explain to you how complex, how intricate we are as human beings. And imagine now, all that was created by God, our ruler of the universe, our Father, You go to Genesis chapter 2, the story of creation, that He said, let's create man in our image, after our likeness, and out of the ground, out from the dust, He formed man, Adam. He's called Adam, meaning ruddy, from the ground or from the dust or from the soil. That is how we were made by this God. And then what He did? He breathes on us His very breath. So what we breathe, who we are, our very essence is the breath of God. Can you just imagine that? Imagine that. I mean, we're not smart enough to come up with such things. No, we're not. And the way we've been created, all those intricacies of how our body works and everything, it's Him. It's Him, God, our Creator. He has made us. And so therefore, when we think about who He is, how He is, what He has done for us, it's a reason that we bow and we kneel and we worship Him. We are awed by His magnificence. We are awed by His goodness. We are awed by the fact that a great God would find habitation in us. Can you imagine that? Let me just try draw for you a picture of the magnitude of who we are in God. In Psalms, David wrote and said, when I consider the earth, the work of your hands, who is man that you're mindful of him? Who is man that you even care about him? And you placed him a little lower than the angels, and you crowned him